Hey, welcome to the Go To Physio Podcast. We are up to episode 63 or season 4, episode 13. And today's episode is all about doubling your profits ethically using the Go To Clinic Head Physio dashboard without needing more new patients. So I'm going to show you how to double your clinic's profit today with just the patients already in the diary. And best of all, we're going to do that ethically. The patient's going to win because they're actually going to get the results that they came to you for in the first place. You're going to ultimately be able to not only pay your bills, but also get the money that you deserve for the risk that you're taking as the clinic owner, and then ultimately be able to pay your therapist more money as they naturally will want that year on year. So before we get into exactly how to do that, we need to understand obviously the high level picture. So the Go To Clinic Mastermind methodology, the first thing we need to understand is, what is your definition of success? What do you want to feel like on a daily basis? What's the cost of that feeling on a daily basis? Then we need to create a financial plan so that your business actually delivers that. So that's essentially what we would call the budget. Okay, the budget is the plan to get you to your vision. Okay, your vision of not only your short-term vision of how you want to feel on a daily basis right now, but also your dream life vision. Okay, so what is the cost of the next few levels up from where you are currently? The budget is the plan that's going to give you that. So that's the financial roadmap, so to speak. Okay, then we're going to use our other operational clarity dashboards within the business. And one of those key dashboards is the Go To Clinic Head Physio dashboard, which we're going to look at now and show you how this is going to be a key player to double the profits in the clinic. So the things that we're going to see in the Head Physio dashboard, that's going to be reflected in your financials, obviously, at the end of the month. So our Head Physio dashboard, as part of our operational clarity systems in the Go To Clinic Mastermind, is our IA rebook rate wants to be around that 90% mark. Okay, so if we have 10 patients that come in for new appointments this week, 9 of those wants to actually rebook an appointment. Okay, because there's always going to be that one that maybe, that might be a red flag and we have to refer out, or they might be passing by and stuff like that. Okay, so again, we're never going to get 100%. There's always going to be some reason, but we want it to be around that 90%. Patients, if you offer packages, we want those to get all of that money out of the way in the first session, and it's going to improve the efficiency of the business, the effectiveness of the business, and it's going to have a massive impact on the other numbers. We want that to be around 50%. We want our drop-off rate, which is essentially the patients that cancelled and haven't rebooked, and the patients that did not attend, as a percentage of the total potential appointments you could have seen that week, to be less than 8%. Okay, we want your patient visit average to be around 6 per patient. Okay, again, as I always say, that's going to depend on the sector that you're working in, the type of patient. That could be a lot higher than that, could be a lot lower than that, just depending on a few different factors. But for most clinicians in your kind of bog standard private practice, you want to be hitting at least 6 there if you want to genuinely be getting patients to achieve the value outcomes that they've defined. Okay, your utilization, that's how much time your therapist is actually spent treating, because ultimately your therapists are the revenue generators of the business. If they're not treating, they're not generating revenue. So we want that to be at least 70%. Again, I've talked about this in a couple of episodes ago, where that could be a lot higher for certain clinicians. It could be around the 70%. For some clinicians, you want to find a sweet spot where your therapist essentially is working without cracking. Okay, what do I mean by cracking? Going off sick, ill, stressed, because they can't hack that. Certain therapists will be able to hack higher percentages, others not so much. But as a standard, a minimum standard, we want at least 70%. Okay, if the clinician can handle a 70% caseload without their other numbers suffering and getting stressed and overworked, then they may not be the right therapist for private practice, from my experience. Okay, so they're your head physio dashboards. Obviously, the beauty of that is it just tracks your patient numbers all the way through the customer journey. So essentially, it's taking the emotion out of the decision making, and it's telling us in black and white of what did happen, how well we are as a clinic at actually taking these new patients, those patients telling us what they want to achieve, and actually taking them through that journey and achieving those things while being successfully discharged, okay, without dropping off, without cancelling, and all of those things, okay? So the 6 stages that we covered in the previous episode, that the patient needs to go through that customer journey. And again, this is going to be a key framework that we use in the Go To Clinic Mastermind to be able to see very clearly, and we use it in our Train by Clinician methodology also, of seeing where the gaps are for clinicians, or said another way, where the opportunities are to put some specific inputs in that are going to lead to these outputs. Because numbers are outputs, they're lagging metrics of what did happen, and really all we can do is change the inputs. So the inputs are the behaviors, the actions that happen in order to change those numbers. So the first stage we need the patient to buy into the treatment plan. That's stage 1 of the 6 stages of the Go To Clinic patient journey. We want the patient to feel a difference in the first session. Stage 2, stage 3, we want that patient to rebook and attend the second session. So you can see 3 out of the 6 stages of the Go To Clinic patient journey. It's all happening in that initial assessment because it is that important. Okay, we want the patient to hit the first 3 milestones or patient defined value outcomes within the first 3 sessions so that they make a momentum to give us the best chance of progressing. We need the patient to understand that there's more progress to be made even when the pain eases. Okay, and then the last stage, stage 6, the patient needs to pass through we need undeniable proof that they have achieved their definition of success that they came to us and asked us for help with in the final session with thoughtless, fearless movement. And we've also exposed them to their worst case scenarios. And why is that important? Because we want to build resilience for the patient. We don't want the patient to come back with this problem again 2 weeks' time, or worse still. And I think it's an absolute crime, if I'm being completely honest with you, a patient that you discharge and they're pain free, but they're afraid to do movements. Okay, they're afraid, they don't have the confidence. That stage 6 is all about a feeling. It's about giving that patient the feeling of facing their fears, and on the other side of fear is everything good. So that's where the true Raven fans reviews and referrals are built. So how do we double the profits without needing new patients? Well, we're going to leverage these 3 key frameworks. We've talked about these in the past few episodes. Your patient value outcomes are critical. These are the things that your patient has come into you in the first session and said, this is the things that I want. This is how I define value, and this is how I define progress based on what I'm giving you, which is my money and my time and effort. And in return, I want these things, okay? Again, for us in the stage 1 to get the patient to buy into the treatment plan, the big challenge for private practice clinicians that's non-negotiable is you need to be able to extract how the patient defines value, because these values now are holding us accountable to the patient, to our clinics, and also to ourselves to make sure that the actual treatment plan is aligned with these values, okay? So that's your patient value outcomes, how your patient defines value. Then we're going to use our head physio dashboard in order to see where the metrics need to improve. And then we can correlate that with the 6 stages of the patient journey to understand, because each stage of your patient journey has key actions that need to happen. So stage 1 has key actions, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5, stage 6. We can see from the head physio numbers where the patients are dropping off or not progressing, or where the problems are. And then we can easily then go into that stage and use those actions in order to change the head physio numbers. So I hope you can see how easy this is to use your patient value outcomes, figure out where the problems are, which session, and then we can quickly audit the clinician's notes and we can see the key actions that didn't happen. This is a framework I've had to develop for my own clinic, and also then to be able to give clinicians the ability to transition from being very good clinicians to very good head physios, okay? Because as you hire other therapists, this then becomes the biggest challenge, okay? So I've had to figure this out myself. Everything that I'm teaching you here, by the way, is what we live and breathe, okay? There's no bullshit here with this. This isn't something that sounds good on paper. I'm at the point now where I've gone through 10,000 plus hours of looking at our own numbers and other clinicians' numbers. I can pretty much see now straight away within the head physio numbers what key actions aren't happening in the clinic, okay, in each treatment. And it's absolutely astounds me every time how accurate this is in terms of the 6 stages. But again, with this stages, these numbers, the most important thing is these aren't used to punish the therapist or to make the therapist feel bad. The language of high performers is numbers. These numbers are used to find the opportunities to help the therapist be successful, because at the end of the day, the most important thing is these numbers represent that patients are actually achieving the outcomes that came to you in the first place. Okay, so we don't want to lose sight of the main thing. Keep the main thing the main thing. If you get your patients achieving their definition of success and how they define value with their patient value outcomes, you will have a profitable clinic. You will never be out of business. Okay, I can promise you that. That is the main thing. These numbers just help us to see where we can improve to ultimately give the patient that. Okay, and as I said, the patient visit averages, IA rebooks, they all take care of themselves if your clinician is doing that. So that's how we solve these problems in our Train My Clinician program and also our Go To Clinic Mastermind program. Okay, so how do we double the profits? Well, here's Clinic A, here's Clinic B. Both clinics have 100 new patients. Okay, so we give Clinic A, Clinic B the same 100 patients, for example. Okay, just bear with me on that. Then what happens in Clinic A is Clinic A has an IA rebook rate of 70%. Okay, so out of the 100 patients that come in, okay, that's to me would be 25 patients a week. Okay, for a decent sized clinic, we've got 25 new patients a week. 70% of them per week are rebooking. Okay, so for every 10 patients, 7 are rebooking. Okay, now Clinic B has an IA rebook rate of 90%. They're hitting the gold standards, the Go To Clinic Head Physio standards. So Clinic B, for every 10 patients, they get 9 rebook, or every 100, 90 rebook. So there's a 20% difference there between Clinic A and Clinic B. Okay, if your clinic is sitting in around the IA rebook rate of 70% at the moment, okay, then there's massive opportunities. The beauty of this as well, by the way, is that a lot of clinics, that could actually be a little bit less than that. So the potential is even higher. Now, the patients continuing. So 100 patients walked into Clinic A, there's 70 patients coming back for a second session. Now we get into follow-up income. Clinic B, 90% IA rebook rate. Now there's 90 patients coming for session 2. Okay, so the reality of that is Clinic A now needs to find another 20 patients, okay, just to make up that shortfall to stay on target with Clinic B. Okay, so straight away there's a 20 patient difference. That's nearly a week's worth of patients here for these clinics who are getting 25 new patients a week. Okay, so straight away we're nearly a week's new patients down. So at this stage, Clinic A have 70 patients coming in for session 2, but Clinic B have 90 patients. Then we have a patient visit average of 3 for Clinic A. Okay, so they have 3 sessions. So they have the initial assessment, the first session 2, session 3, and then these patients are dropping off on average. Now that's the average. So again, some patients might get to session 5. Some patients will drop off after 2 sessions. Some will drop off after 3. Okay, so again, that's the average over the last 30 patients 13 weeks ago. That's usually how we work it out. I've done an episode previously going through the numbers. Okay, but Clinic B are hitting the gold standards. They've got a patient visit average of 6. So what does that mean? Well, that means that straight away Clinic B, they've doubled their lifetime value of Clinic A. So if these are competitors, that means when we even talk about marketing and how much we can afford to spend to acquire a customer, Clinic B can spend twice as much. Okay, so they can totally dominate because whoever can afford to spend the most money wins. So Clinic B can totally dominate their area now because they can afford to outspend Clinic A on Google Ads because their lifetime value is higher because they're going to break even quicker. So patient visit average is very, very important. Clinic B has £150 more lifetime value per patient if we assume there's an average order of 50 quid. Okay, and again, this is sterling. So if your clinic's 80 euros and 90 euros, or you're in the US and you're charging $200, this is big cash. Okay, so Clinic A had 100 patients, Clinic B had 100 patients. Clinic A has an IA rebook rate of 70%. Clinic B has an IA rebook rate of 90%. That means that in the second session, Clinic A have 70 patients, Clinic B have 90 patients. Clinic A straight away has to find an additional 20 new patients now to try keep up with Clinic B's total appointments in week 2, okay, on top of the new patients, okay? Patient visit average for Clinic A is 3, Clinic B is good at 6, okay? The drop-off percentage for Clinic A is 15%. So what that ultimately means is that Clinic A, 15% of those patients, okay, are dropping off before they've even got close to achieving the results they wanted, okay? Whereas Clinic A's drop-off percentage is 8, okay? So that's a 7% difference. So when we look at the numbers now from the original 100 patients for Clinic A and Clinic B, we've got 59 patients completing their treatment for Clinic A. Okay, so they've lost 61 patients, okay, in that process. Clinic B's patients completing are 83. Okay, so they've actually gone out of the 183 have gone on to get the results they wanted. So straight away there's another 24 patients difference lost in Clinic A. So the total sessions from Clinic A, from those 100 patients, is 280. So if we add up all of the sessions with the patient visit averages, the drop-off rates, etc., Clinic A, out of those 100 patients, they were able to generate 280 appointments, including DAs. Clinic B, out of those 100 patients, were able to generate 640 appointments. So Clinic B carried out 360 extra appointments for the same 100 patients without any new patients. The revenue based on the average order value, and I've just kept it simple for the maths at 50 quid, the total revenue generated for Clinic A was £14,000. Clinic B, for that same 100 patients, was able to generate £32,000. So Clinic B generated an 18,000 additional, and I've put profit here, assuming we're already breaking even. For the same patients that were in the clinic anyway, they were able to generate £18,000 additional profit. Because when you break even, whatever number of patients you need per week to break even, every single patient that you see after that goes straight down to the bottom line, into your profit, into your bank account, the clinic owners. So that's the difference here, is the additional 18,000 in profit is more than what Clinic A made. So when we look at the stats there, it's frightening. 280 appointments generated out of Clinic A's 100 patients versus Clinic B's 640. I've put 100 appointments there. For a decent sized clinic with 3-4 clinicians, you're probably getting around 20-25 patients a week. So again, that's a month's worth of new patients. So out of that month's worth of new patients, over the course of the next 2 months, say, you're generating, Clinic A is generating 280 appointments. Clinic B per month, per 100 patients, is generating 640 patients. So that additional profit that you've generated for Clinic B, that extra 18,000, if you're doing that month on month, it's going to add up massively. Now, again, I know that those 100 patients are going to be spread out over 2 months, 3 months even, okay? But it's all accumulating, okay? Clinic A is constantly on this new patient hamster wheel. Let's spend more money on marketing, okay? Let's get more new patients in because the therapists are sitting with empty diaries. 18,000 additional with patients that you already have in your diary. Okay, so where are we spending our energy? And when we look at that, that's a 2.3% X growth, Clinic B versus Clinic A, without needing any more new patients. Okay, so if you're Clinic A at the moment and your head physio numbers are looking around this, and by the way, it's not unusual either to have clinic owners with IA rebook percentages when they actually track it, and they look at IA rebooks who actually turn up, and we look at that. Okay, not just that they've given us lip service and they've said, yeah, I'll rebook next week and then never to be seen again. When you actually track this properly, it's not unusual for your IA rebook to be even lower than that. It's not unusual for a clinic to have a patient visit average of 3 to 4. And it's not unusual for a clinic to have a drop-off rate of 20%. Okay, 25%. So those numbers there, I've been quite conservative with those numbers. Okay? So if you're sitting at Clinic A and one of those levers is substandard at the moment, there's huge potential to increase your profit. But most importantly, there's huge potential to get more patients the results they want. Because if they're dropping off and they're not getting what they need, then that's hurting the reputation of the clinic as well. Okay, so if you want to keep the main thing, there's a lot of these patients that aren't getting the results. Okay, so again, out of the patients, there's 40 odd that didn't get the result they wanted from Clinic A, whereas there's 17 in Clinic B. Okay, and again, we can use our head physio systems then to support our therapists to help that. So if you're a Clinic A at the moment and you're getting 100 new patients and you've got an IA book rate less than 90%, you've got a patient visit average less than 6 or whatever is reasonable for your standards, you think it should be higher, and you've got a higher drop-off rate than 8%, and there's so much potential to double your profits without needing more new patients. And that's where the 3 growth levers essentially are. In order to improve your clinic, you can grow in 3 ways. You can increase your lifetime value of the patient. You can improve your sales conversions, or you can optimize essentially your best performing marketing channels. And the beauty of this is when you fix 1 and 2, you can afford to spend more at number 3 then. I'm not saying for 1 second that no, new patients aren't important. They're very important, okay? But what's more important if you want to work smarter, not harder, you want a sustainable growing clinic, is that for every quid that you're spending on marketing, you're getting more and more back, and you can afford to spend more. You know your numbers, and you can afford to spend more to acquire new patients with confidence that you're going to get that money back time and time again. And that's how you beat your competition. That's where you know your numbers. You can afford to spend more with Google ads, okay? Because the Google ads and Facebook ads, the costs are only going one way. They're rising, and they're going to continue to rise, which means it's never been more important to get growth levers number 1 and 2 sorted once and for all. And that's ultimately what we do in the Go To Clinic Mastermind, is we install the dashboards. We actually train your team. Your team have access to our Go To Therapist mentorship system. Your therapists have access to our initial assessment mastery and our follow-up mastery courses, which take them through the key actions and inputs that has to happen at each stage of the patient journey in order for these outputs to take care of themselves. We help you with the head physio stuff and actually understanding that and empowering your team so that you've got self-managing clinicians, because they need to understand these numbers, and then you give them all the resources that they need. And if they're a high willingness therapist, then there's no problem. And the beauty of this is having the outcomes there. So if you have the outcomes there as well, then you've got accountability. The therapist is accountable to the clinic and accountable to the patient, most importantly of all. So that's how we use the head physio dashboards. We use the 6 stages and the value outcomes to essentially double your profits without needing more new patients. We get that right, then we get more aggressive with the marketing. Okay, but it doesn't make sense to me on any level for a clinic to be continuing to increase their marketing spend when their go-to clinic head physio dashboards are suboptimal. Okay, because you're not maximizing everything you've already got. Most importantly, the patients coming in aren't getting the results that they wanted to. And how do I know that? Because that's where the patient value outcomes become critical then. The patient value outcomes are the exact things that the patient has defined as valuable. And we need undeniable proof that they've achieved those things. And remember, stage 6 is the patient has achieved their definition of success. So your cancel did not write books. Those patients haven't achieved their definition of successes if they haven't completed their treatment plan, because they can't complete their treatment plan unless they've achieved their definition of success. And that's how we can use those 3 things: the Go To Clinic Head Physio dashboard, your patient value outcomes, and your 6 stages. And we have the key inputs and actions for your therapist. We simplify everything down. We show them how to take all of their knowledge and put it into a step-by-step system. And the beauty of the patient value outcomes is your therapist can keep their treatment autonomy. No matter what way they treat, if you don't treat like me, that's fine. You just have to hit the outcome for the patient, because you're accountable to that outcome. You're accountable to the patient. You're accountable to yourself and the clinic. I've invested a lot of money in creating a Go To Clinic hub for my own clinic and therapists and clinic owners in the Go To Clinic Mastermind. The Go To Clinic hub optimizes patient value outcomes. You've got a patient value outcome. I want to be able to sit pain-free for 6 hours. Here's the outcome. Here's all the clinical reasoning. Here's all the key anatomy that you need to influence, that could potentially influence that outcome. Here's all the assessment techniques. Here's all the hands-on techniques. Here's all the rehab techniques in order to achieve that outcome that's clinically reasoned to achieve that outcome. For any outcome specific to private practice patients, we have that in the Go To Clinic hub essentially. And if it's not there, every month we update the outcomes based on our complex cases here in our clinic and from working with clinic owners. So if your therapist can't achieve the outcome, the Go To Clinic hub has the answer for them there. All your therapists need to be able to do is extract the outcomes in the initial assessment, get the patient to buy into the treatment plan, which we've got all the training to do that. That's all soft skills and subjective assessment soft skills, and the Go To Clinic hub does the rest. So there's no reason why your clinicians can't hit those head physio dashboard standards. Okay, you just need high willing therapists. If you don't have high willing therapists, then we've also got the Go To Clinic hiring and onboarding systems for you also, okay, to help you get clinicians that have the willingness to actually be held to account on outcomes. Because go-to clinicians, they love numbers because it means they're actually helping their patients. And therapists, first and foremost, want patients to get better. The human need is contribution to actually help their patients. Okay, we've got everything you need there. So The Go To Clinic Mastermind is the thing that we do that with. Okay, we'll help you install the Head Physio dashboards, make sense of it. We'll train your team while you're installing the business systems, and we'll show you how to do that. We'll give you every shortcut you need. Your therapist will have full access. If you're not interested in business coaching or anything like that, then the Train My Clinician, you just want your staff trained up, then the Train My Clinician pathway does that. We'll use your head physio numbers to help your clinicians. If you don't know how to track your head physio numbers as part of the Train My Clinician program, we'll give you cheat sheets. We'll show you how to get them very easily. And we'll work with you with the numbers, and we'll actually do all the heavy lifting for your clinicians. Or if you're a therapist working in private practice and someone else's practice, you just want to achieve clinical excellence and you want to understand your numbers, because the language of high performers is numbers, then the Go To Therapist mentorship is the option for you. So we've got something no matter where you are on your journey. Okay, so that's it for this week's episode. I hope you can see, most importantly, what I wanted from this episode for you is for you to understand the power of knowing your numbers. By knowing your numbers, you can see where you can work smarter, not harder. Okay, because again, understanding the numbers allows you to pull the right lever at the right time, because you've only got a certain amount of time, energy and resources and your team per week. So it's all about knowing what the right levers to pull at the right time. I hope you can also understand now that per 100 patients, if you're not hitting the head physio goal clinical standards, you've got the potential to double your profits. The vast majority of clinics out there do, without needing new patients. I'm not saying we stop getting new patients, but I'm saying is we increase our lifetime value ethically, which means the patient's getting the results and you're getting the profits. Everyone's a winner, okay? I want you to really understand that there's 3 growth levers. You can improve your lifetime value of your patients ethically, you can improve your sales conversions, and you can improve your marketing channels. And the head physio numbers, if you do all of those well, you'll improve growth levers 1 and 2, which allows you then your marketing channels to outspend your competition and dominate the market essentially, if you so wish. And then the last thing that I want you to understand from this episode is that you can do this easily, and we can train your team for you if you wanted to. Okay, so again, we have all the clinical systems, we've got the numbers, we've got the cheat sheets, the SOPs, everything for you there. Your team can get cracking on this straight away. We've got the Go To Clinic Hub, which will help them achieve the outcomes for the patients. So we've got everything you need. We just need willing therapists. Okay, so if you want some help, reach out. That's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you can see the potential for your clinic now, because a lot of clinicians, clinic owners are sitting on gold mines. They just don't understand the numbers well enough. We can help you, support you with that, as I said. Okay, so that's it for this week. I'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in to this week's show. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, if you'd like a free copy of my Head Physio Systems 6-step checklist that I use to personally audit my own therapists to make sure that they can keep patients progressing even when the pain is eased, so that we can ethically increase our patient numbers, our revenues and referrals, head over to www.thegotophysio.com/checklist and I'll get that sent straight over to you. That's it for this week. I'll see you in next week's show.